Well, I'd like to welcome everyone today. I'm Ron Brown, and I'll be your host. It is November the 7th, 2022. And it is episode 136. Today, we have a big show for you today. We'll be starting, of course, with our little chit chat, and then we'll be moving on to Bob's security news update. We're going to follow that with Ray's going to talk about USB-C. And then I'm going to talk about something every snowbird needs to know before they head south. Huey's going to talk about free services with your smart TV. Ray has great balls of fire for my favorite is going to be for his music outro. And of course, we have our premiere service, which we'll be talking about shortly. So all today on Tech for Senior, episode 136. So for our premiere service later on, which will occur at 1:30, which I've sent out an email on Saturday. If you've got our email, you'll see the link, but I'll put it in the chat. We will be talking, the first item on our premiere service today will be documenting memories with PowerPoint, and this was given a year ago by Marcia Berkey. Huey's going to talk about informed mail delivery. You actually can communicate with your postal service and find out what's going to happen when you get deliveries. I'm going to talk about alternates to digital picture frames. Many of you are probably looking at digital picture frames for coming up now with Black Friday, so that'll be alternates to digital picture frames, and that will all be at 1:30, and that will be on our premiere video, which I'll put the link in, and you'll be able to watch that. So we of course take this, and we'll have the full version of this up online later on today. On Thursday, of course, we have our Thursday show, and we'll have a lot of fun with that, where we review the news of the week. This is called Tech for Senior Live. It's not a Zoom meeting, though. It's broadcast out on StreamYard, so you can participate in that if you like by simply going to our Facebook page or our YouTube channel. And we have put the links to that in the on our website, so you can just go there and just click the link, and it will take you right to the show. This week, we're going to talk about, of course, all the news of the week, but we're going to talk about follow up on today's day's talk on cell phone plans when you travel, and we're going to talk a little bit about that this Thursday. And of course, if you missed that, we tape that as well, and we're going to we podcast that out on Friday, so you can listen to it as a podcast. So that's our busy schedule this week. As I said, Huey's away setting up election machines. Bob should be here. Ray, did Bob come in yet?
Not yet.
Haven't seen him. Okay. So of course we have so there today we're looking after you is myself, Ray, and Mike. So Ray, how do you feel in the number 2 seat there? You're sitting there. Are we doing okay?
Power. No, I'm getting over the as the rest of the country changed from daylight savings time to standard time. We folks in Arizona, all we have to do now is remember what time it is in other states.
That's right.
You might think that's easy, but it's not.
There, there you go. But don't all your devices do that for you? Isn't that what they're supposed to do?
My devices stay the same time. That it doesn't change the time. But now, as an example, we used to be the same time as California. Now California is an hour early. I got to sleep an hour later today.
Oh, there you go. There you go. And Mike, you're sitting there smiling, and Mike, of course, is in Florida. He always has that big grin on his face as he's sitting there with what's that EV? Did you get a new EV car? You've got a.
You got me focused on EVs now, Ron. So I get to look at my dream cars as I see what it is that I present to everyone else. So this is the new Cadillac Lyric that's on the screen behind me. And I suppose if I did buy a new EV, I have no reason to, that would be on my my list.
Is that a plug-in hybrid, or is it a total electric?
Full EV. Yeah.
Full EV.
General Motors says by 2030 that they will be 100% electric. So this is going to be one of the early ones.
Oh, cool. I was telling Mike earlier today, I was down looking at bolts last week, and I drove into the GM parking lot and there were no cars, and well, very little in the way of cars. They had a big sign with a big sign saying, come on in to order your new car online. And they had a big sign pointing towards the dealership entrance, and they had a bunch of computers inside there, and they were sitting people in there, and there were salespeople helping people order their cars online. And I thought, gee, that sure changed a lot, eh, Mike?
Yes, and that will be one of the subjects for part 2 of EVs when it gets scheduled.
That's right. And that will be coming up shortly. As you all know, coming up on December the 5th, we have Chris Gould with Geeks on Tour is going to talk to us about how to take better pictures with your cell phone and all tips and tricks with the camera. And that should be fun. And she'll be there on December the 5th. Indeed, indeed, indeed. Well, we're going to get going early today. I want to get because we have a big show for you today. I'm going to, this is usually where I say, take it away, Bob, or something about Bob, but Bob's not here, so I'm going to do that for you. So let's see what Bob has to say.
Here is the Avast Security News Roundup for the week ending November 4th, 2022. Dropbox breach. Hackers unauthorizedly accessed 130 GitHub source code repositories. File hosting service Dropbox on Tuesday disclosed that it was the victim of a phishing campaign that allowed unidentified threat actors to gain unauthorized access to 130 of its source code repositories on GitHub. These repositories include our own copies of third-party libraries, slightly modified for use by Dropbox, internal prototypes, and some tools and configuration files used by the security team, the company revealed in an advisory. The breach resulted in the access of some API keys used by Dropbox developers, as well as a few thousand names and email addresses belonging to Dropbox employees, current and past customers, sales leads, and vendors. It, however, stressed that the repository did not contain source code related to its core apps or infrastructure. Read more at the Hacker News. Mac app wants to record everything you do so you can rewind it later. A company called Rewind AI announced a self-titled software product for Macs with Apple Silicon that reportedly keeps a highly compressed, searchable record of everything you do locally on your Mac and lets you rewind time to see it later. If you forgot something you've seen, said, or heard, Rewind wants to help you find it easily. Rewind AI claims its product stores all recording data locally on your machine and does not require cloud integration. Among its promises, Rewind will reportedly let you rewind Zoom meetings and pull information from them in a searchable form. Is this private? What if you grant remote access to your system to a third party? What happens if your system gets hacked? Instant access or recall may be nice, but read more at Ars Technica and watch a descriptive video at the link listed. Verified Twitter and IG accounts are in high criminal demand. Scammers are stealing verified Twitter and Instagram accounts in order to resell them on the black market to other scammers who will use them to promote NFT frauds. According to an investigative reporting by The Verge, sales of these stolen accounts are often transacted on Telegram at a rough cost of $200 per verified account. The primary tactics being used to hijack these accounts are credential stuffing and phishing. NFT scammers then buy the accounts in order to flaunt the blue checkmark verifying it as official, which helps them push their phony or non-existent NFT tokens onto unsuspecting users. Read more on The Verge. Vice Society ransomware gang survives on mediocrity. The education and health care sector have been the primary targets for ransomware gang Vice Society over the past 2 years, and researchers believe the gang endures due to the mediocre nature of its attacks. You have the top-tier group developing their own 0 days and acting all polished and professional, commented a security researcher at Tenable. But meanwhile, Vice Society is just chugging along, not really innovating, stealing tools from other folks, but they have just enough stability to launch attacks, get paid, keep moving. So far, the biggest target Vice Society has hit has been the Los Angeles Unified School District, and some experts wonder if the group understood how big the district was before targeting it. See Ars Technica for more. CISA adds Cisco and gigabit flaws to catalog. The U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency has added 2 Cisco product flaws and 4 gigabit product flaws to its known exploit vulnerability catalog. The Cisco vulnerability both impact the AnyConnect secure mobility client for Windows, while the gigabit vulnerability impacts Gigabit App Center drivers, the Aorus graphic engine, the Extreme Gaming Engine, and the OC Guru utility. All 6 of the new flaws can lead to a local attacker gaining elevated privileges. For more details, see Security Week. Point of sale malware steals over 167,000 credit card numbers. Researchers have discovered a pair of POS malware variants that together have stolen over 167,000 credit card numbers from mostly U.S. locations between February 2021 and September 2022. The command and control centers for both variants, Macheck POS and Treasure Hunter, were found hosted on the same server, though it is unknown who launched the attack or if they had sold or used the stolen information. Researchers value the data at more than $3.3 million. See Cyberscoop for more. Interpol prepares for crime in the metaverse. Last week, Interpol unveiled what it called the first ever metaverse specifically designed for law enforcement worldwide. This Interpol metaverse is intended to give officers around the world the tools for cross-border knowledge sharing via avatars. The platform will also be used for forensic investigation training and other policing activities. Interpol warned that criminals are already beginning to exploit the metaverse, and as the tech continues to develop, future metaverse crimes could include crimes against children, data theft, money laundering, financial fraud, counterfeiting, ransomware, phishing, and sexual assault and harassment. To learn more, see ZDNet. This week's must-read on the Avast blog. Read Avast's top articles on how to navigate online safety at any age, with actionable tips to help you protect your family. Read the article at the link listed. Do you know how many websites are on the internet? As of November 2022, there are nearly 2 billion websites on the internet. The live counter on Internet Live Stats is at 1,996,172,229 as of 11/3/2022 and is constantly increasing. That's a lot of internet websites. That wraps up this week's Avast Security News Roundup. Stay safe, stay secure, and I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.
Well, thank you, Bob, wherever you are. I hope you're okay. You sound like you had a cold there. Anyway, we'll likely see him in a few minutes. Ray, are you ready to roll?
Let's see if I am. All right, today we're going to talk about what to know about USB-C. Going forward, this will be the one and only USB type connector, I predict. So, various USB connector types. Over the years, there have been several different types of USB connectors for different devices such as printers or portable storage drives, as well as the mini versions for smaller devices. If you are like me, you always seem to be missing the cable with the correct connector you needed at a given time. And as we look at the diagram on the right-hand side, we'll see we had first a USB 2.0 with a type A connector. That's been the most common type. Then when it changed to USB 3.0, it was blue colored. That was nice. It was easy to tell looking at either the connector or the computer which type of connector that was. And then, of course, we had micro B and mini B. And at the bottom, it shows C. So it's important to make a note of the terminology here. USB-C is a USB type, and that refers to the physical shape, the pin arrangements, and the wiring of the plugs and ports. And the standardization of these factors are its major advantages. Now, USB versions, such as USB 1 and up to USB 3.2, refer to the speed, features, and functionalities of a USB interface. A major disadvantage of USB-C, I think, is that looking at the cable, you cannot tell what the capabilities are. In other words, two identical looking cables could have different functions and limitations. Now, I think this will be corrected by requiring the manufacturers to provide accurate and permanent labeling on their cables. All right, there was an EU ruling for USB-C connector. Last month, the European Union set in place a regulation that by the end of 2024, all new cell phones sold in Europe must either have wireless charging capability or come with a USB-C connector type for that purpose. Now, the aim is to reduce waste by encouraging consumers to reuse existing chargers when buying a new device. So almost all Android cell phones sold worldwide in the last several years already come with this type connector, but not so for Apple. The iPhone 13 and 13 Pro Max were the world's best-selling phones in the first quarter of 2022. But like all iPhones, they use a proprietary connector for charging known as a lightning cable. A top Apple executive in a recent interview said, "Obviously, we have to comply. We have no choice." Simply put, there's no good reason, financial or otherwise, to have two different connectors on the same model phone sold worldwide. Now, as a side note, Apple's been steadily adding USB-C ports to its Mac computers and iPad tablets. So this is a connector type they are quite familiar with. So USB has only one standard type connector. USB stands for Universal Serial Bus, was first introduced way back in 1996 with the intent to replace the many varieties of serial and parallel port connectors. Remember those? In use at the time, with one that was universal. One of the most popular features of USB-C compared to its USB predecessors is that it plugs in either direction. In other words, it can't be upside down on your first try, as it always seems to be in my case. Okay, there's really going to be three main roles for this USB-C technology as it evolves. Number one will be data transfers. We're going to find them at much faster speeds. Power delivery. It's going to be used to move battery charges between two devices. And three, video capability. It's called alternate mode, and it's going to allow for standard USB connectors to carry non-USB data. That would include a video signal. So the different transfer speeds. So the chart below is from usbmakers.com, and it lists the various USB versions and their data rate speeds. The new updated names in parentheses add to the confusion for consumers when buying a USB-C cable. And look at my point is that when the blue came out on USB 3.0, could easily tell, well, that's not called USB 3.0 anymore. That's now known as 3.2 generation 1. And then the improvement to 3.0 being 3.1, that's now 3.2 generation 2. So you can see some of the other changes there. And you can see how far we've come in the data rate speeds, starting back in the 1996, 1998 era of 12 megabytes per second. And now we're up to, in some cases, as much as 40 gigabytes per second. And the other thing that's been confusing, I think, is the names that they've added to them. It was a full speed, then it was high speed, then it was super speed plus. The only thing missing here is super duper speed. So the best advice to determine the USB-C cable speed that you're getting, that's to check for the actual speed rating as shown in the advertising specs. Here's an example on Amazon. They don't tell you it's a speed, but when you see something that has GBps, gigabytes per second after a number, that's your speed rating. Then there's as I said, the USB-C power delivery protocol. So devices no longer need a separate power pack to charge. Imagine you're going on a trip somewhere and you really don't want to carry that brick in your bag that is your power supply. Well, now with USB-C, a cord connected between two devices, in this case, my unplugged laptop is charging my cell phone. Now, devices charge and discharge through the same port, meaning power direction can be either way. And typical charge rates have often been about 15 watts, but with USB-C, the power delivery protocol rates can go all the way up to 100 watts. And then there's the USB-C video alternate mode. Allows a connection from computers to go to monitors that do not have a USB-C connector. I predict in the future they all will, but now most of us have a monitor that doesn't have a USB-C connector. So using a DisplayPort alternate mode, that can provide up to 4K resolution at a 60 hertz refresh rate. And then there's also in the development HDMI over USB-C cable technology. And that's being developed with a similar functionality. This works with Windows, Mac, and Linux. Now, again, these are new technologies that are continuing to develop and are really not yet mainstream, but they will be. So the USB-C connector is here to stay. It'll be, the connector type will stay the same, but the functionality within it will continue to expand and improve. Now, the aim of the EU law was to reduce computer-related waste by encouraging consumers to reuse either existing chargers or wireless charging. And I think wireless charging, you're going to see that more and more with phones, with cell phones when available. And then, of course, the USB-C for charging. Let's face it, when you think of all the old cables we've tossed out over the years because they don't work with newer devices, maybe this isn't such a bad idea. The end.
Well, thanks, Ray. That's yes. Let's save the planet and let's stop throwing out garbage, right? So that'll be great. I think we're moving in the right direction there, eh?
Yes, I think so too. Time will tell. Yes,
indeed. So this is the time of year that all the snowbirds are heading south, right? Everyone's starting to move south to Florida, Arizona, or maybe even taking a cruise. Now, I think I've told everyone this before, but about 3 years ago, when the pandemic hit, I decided we had all our friends from Mesa, Arizona, and across Canada, the United States that we weren't going to see for a while. So I started a happy hour at the Browns at 4:30 every Friday, and of course our family and friends all participated in that. 3 years later, we haven't missed a Friday. And we still have the same group of people, and they're all it's one of the highlights of the week. So last Friday, some of our friends are already in Mesa, Arizona, and were telling me about how they have gone down to the local cell phone shop and bought SIM cards. And of course, I taught them all how to do this many years ago, and I thought, this isn't too good. And so that prompted the video I made today, because life has changed and there are some things that we need to rethink, things that we taught in the past, but we need to rethink them based on new security standards. So that was how I decided to make this video today. So hopefully you enjoy it, and we'll see. Let's see if we can get it going here. It's Ron Brown with Tech for Senior. Snow is coming. The snowbirds are heading for greener pastures. Where is it warm? Yes, they're heading to Florida, Arizona, and even taking cruises. On every snowbird's mind is, what am I going to do for my cell phone service? I need data. I need to log in and check my email. I need to keep in touch with my bank. So there's roaming charges. You may be in a different country, and the cost can soon add up. So what do? Well, many of you are turning for a local SIM card. In fact, in my many years of teaching courses in Mesa, Arizona, because I was a snowbird, I taught how to purchase local SIM cards. Many people at that time didn't know what a SIM card was or how to change it. So that was a good topic to talk about. And of course, consumer cellular was a good option, along with, as we traveled to different parts of the world, we talked about purchasing local SIM cards in different regions. My daughter lives in Australia, and oh my gosh, the SIM cards with local data in Australia are so cheap. Such a good deal. But things have changed, and you shouldn't be changing the SIM cards in your cell phone. Let me explain the difference that has occurred over the past few years. All right, let's just review what SIM cards are. SIM cards are sold by your cellular provider. They contain the phone number you have and the software on these they look like little chips to communicate and connect you with your cell phone provider. But the most important thing is these little devices, these little chips, have your phone number on, and they're the identifying factor that allows you to connect with that number. Now, they fit in your smartphone, and they're often hard to put in because they're tiny. You need a steady hand and some good eyes to be able to change them. And a lot of times where you purchase your phone at Verizon, they take your phone in the back room and come out and it just works. And that's because they have put this little card in your cell phone for you. There's a little sliding gate in the side of your phone or on the bottom, and you put a little device in there and it pops open this gate and you put the card in there. And once that's closed, then your phone connects with the cell phone service and you're ready to go. Now, fortunately, we're getting rid of these physical SIM cards, and as we move forward, we're getting into electronic SIM cards, so we don't have to mess around with these little devices and try and put them in and take them out. So good news, a lot of the newer phones now are doing eSIMs, which is just software, and you won't have to mess around with these little devices. If you do have to take your SIM cards out and store them because you're putting another one in, don't you lose that SIM card, because then you'll lose your phone number. And that is a big problem, as we're going to talk about. A term that you've heard a lot more over the past 5 years is a thing called two-factor authentication. Now, Bob and I at Tech for Senior have been talking about this for a very long time, but we have a long way to go because it's estimated that less than 20% of people still have two-factor authentication turned on. Well, Google last year finally bit the bullet and said that's it, and we're turning two-factor authentication on for everyone. Doesn't matter who you are, it's turned on. Now, you may not know what two-factor authentication is. You may find that word confusing, but you probably understand the concept of getting a text message with a security code that you have to put in before you log into a website. And that website could be your bank, your health care provider, or a securities exchange. So you understand that concept, and that really, folks, is what we're talking about, is two-factor authentication. So the message is, so you're going to go to log into a website. The website is going to say, okay, we're going to send you a verification code. and we're going to send it to your phone number. This is called an SMS text message, and it is identifying your phone and is sending a text message directly to your phone over the SMS system. So this means that you'll get a code in your text, and you put that into your website, and bingo, you log on. Folks, that's two-factor authentication. That's exactly what we're talking about. Okay, just a minute now. If you've changed your SIM card and you have a different phone number, what's going to happen? Yes, big problem, right? So I'm in my home in Comox, British Columbia. I am in my studio. I am using the same computer I always use, and I'm going to log into my bank. What do? I click log in. I click the little button to log me in, and LastPass autofills, and bingo, I'm in my bank account. I do whatever I want, close out. If I want to come back in 5 minutes, just click the button, it auto logs me in. Real simple, right? Well, it is, but what you don't understand is your bank has put a very sophisticated tracking device in the form of a cookie on your computer. And behind the scenes, it knows if Ron logs in on this computer at this site using LastPass, it's got to be Ron. So they're pretty easy about letting me get into my account on this computer at this site at this time. So Ron now goes to Mesa, Arizona. I head down there, and I'm going to be a Snowbird, and I'm in Mesa, Arizona. I go to log in even on my same computer, but I'm not in the same site. So the bank for sure is going to challenge me on this. And guess what? They're going to want to send me a security code to my phone as a text message. Well, if I've just purchased a new SIM card from Consumer Cellular and put it in and my phone number is changed, well, where is that text message going to go? And you're going to have a big problem logging into your secure sites. This has all changed over the past 5 years as more and more companies around the world now all employ some form of two-factor authentication, which is a verification of who you are. So you must understand that the SIM card in your cell phone is an identifying factor for you. It's your personal fingerprint. It is how systems know that you are yourself. And if you change that to a different phone number, then you're changing your identity. So you have to be very careful with this. 10 years ago, it didn't matter. We didn't have two-factor authentication or systems in place. But this has all changed now, and it's all related to that security and your phone number. Okay, so I understand the problem. If you look back many years ago, we all bought cell phones and we started to travel. And oh my gosh, we got caught. We learned all about roaming fees. We learned about long distance fees. And when we came back from our holidays, we said, oh my gosh, what happened? So we then looked at different ways of protecting ourselves to keep our phone rates down when we travel. And this brought us into a new era where we could purchase local SIM cards. And if you traveled in Europe, you would find SIM cards in airports, in vending machines. You can buy them on street vendors as you're walking down the street. Of course, they're common in the United States. And even in Australia, when you got there, SIM cards were extremely cheap, particularly for local data. This was great and was a good way of ensuring that we didn't get caught up in those expensive roaming charges and long distance fees. But we've now moved into a different phase of our life and things have changed. So cell phone providers have actually changed as well. What you need to do is revisit this with your cell phone provider because they all have add-on packages. They have different types of services for you so that if you are, let's say in Canada, and you're going down to Mesa for 4 months, you can get a top-up package that gives you no roaming charges, free, well, I'm not going to say free, but included in the package, calling throughout the United States unlimited, and that's all included in about the same price as you would pay to purchase a SIM card in the United States. It also works if you're in the United States and you're going from the northern states to the southern states, or maybe you're taking a cruise. All your cell phone providers, including Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, all have add-on packages you can add to existing plans that will bring your costs way down. This was not the case 5 or 6 years ago. These were very expensive, but now they're very affordable as we move into this new security time in our lives. Now, I know that we all try to get the cheapest cell phone plans we can. Who wants to pay the cell phone companies a large amount of money each month? So we all look for discounted plans and plans that will save us money. But if you are a traveler and you are going to be traveling, oftentimes the cheaper plans that you have, the add-on costs are more expensive. So you may look at more traditional plans that T-Mobile, Verizon, or AT&T have, depending on how much you're going to travel and what the cost of the add-on plans are. For most people, I feel that adding on an add-on plan to your existing phone number is the way to go, and certainly allows you to keep your own phone number. So as snowbirds, we're racing out the door. We've got a lot on our mind. We're going to have a great holiday and travel someplace warm. Please, before you leave, include in your travel plans a strategy for your cell phone. Please remember that the service that you have provided by your cell phone provider is related to a geographical location. If you go outside that location, travel beyond the scope of their cell phone towers, you may be faced with roaming charges or long distance charges, or both. And these can add up to a significant amount of money, even going short distances like to Mexico from southern United States. So you want to be very careful and have a plan in place. I think it is so important that your plan includes keeping your same phone number. So look with your cell phone provider and get an add-on or top-up or whatever they call it, so that you can keep your own phone number but not incur roaming or long distance calls. All these providers have these, and I think it's important that you keep your same phone number, because when you're traveling, you may need to access healthcare records, you may need to access your bank. There are certain services that you may need on the road. And if the communication to you is through a text message with a code, that is going to go to the wrong cell phone and is very difficult to change. So remember that when you're traveling, and include this idea in the strategy for your holiday this winter. Ron Brown with Tech for Senior. If you've enjoyed this video, please click the like and subscribe. Have a great day and enjoy your winter vacation. We'll talk to you soon. All right, so hopefully that'll put some travel enthusiasm in everybody for this winter. If you have any questions, sorry, go ahead, Ray.
I'm gonna say, I think Bob has joined us.
Yes, I saw that. I made him co-host.
Good.
So we will now we're going to move on. If there's any questions, we'll deal with that in question and answer. Huey's going to talk on free services for your smart TV, and I'm going to play his video now for you.
How to add streaming services to your smart TV. I'm Huey Poplock. This is part 1. Part 2 will be next week, websites to legally watch free movies online. So let's add a streaming service to a Fire TV and a Roku TV today. This is my Toshiba Fire TV that's in my living room. I stream all of the TV. I have no cable. And when I turn it on, this is what I get. At the top, you'll see that I have several choices on changing things and setup. And then I have some of the top choices that I have. And then below are all of the choices. But when I click on this, this will show all of my apps and my channels. As I go down the list, you'll see the several rows. In other words, I have lots of installed applications or channels or services. And these are the ones that I have. Now, it shows that I can have installed on this TV, or I can show not installed. In other words, that I haven't picked. But let's go ahead and choose one that I don't have from the list of movie channels. And I'm choosing Plex. And there it is. Now, when I click it, I have a choice of getting it. Once it gets it, it proceeds and then puts it in the queue, and then it downloads it. And installs it. And then you can open it. And once I open it, there is Plex TV with different choices of things that are available through Plex. Plex is a service that you can have. You can actually show your own movies as well. You can save items to your watch list. You can watch content on one app, and then you can also set favorites. So you don't have to set up an account, but if you do, it will remember what your settings are each time. There are many channels that you can watch that are live, so you can see the times and what the programs are. And you can choose whichever one you want to watch. You just click it and you'll be watching that particular program. As you see, there are a lot of different choices in Plex, as there are in all of them. Now we're looking at the local, so it has many local channels, many local news channels as well, and you can watch any of those. If you sign in and set your area, you can eliminate those that are not in your area. Here's choices of movies and TV programs. And so we have installed Plex now on our Fire TV. Now, when we click on a particular movie, it will show the cast and some information about it. You can play it, you can add it to the watch list, you can watch a trailer, and you can mark it as played. And as you see, there are several things that you can choose: sign in, search, home, watch list, live TV, movies and shows, discover. You can even listen to some music. And you can check to see what your media, what you've marked as your favorites. Now, I spend approximately $80 a month for DirecTV Stream, and that's the main service that I use. I can watch live TV, and it allows me to pick up the local stations in this area besides the stations of the major channels, as if I was getting cable TV. As you can see, I have a guide to go by. I can click on any one of those and watch it live. Or I can click something in the future and tell it I want to record it, and I do get a DVR or digital video recorder. We're now looking at Freevee, which is the former IMDb. Amazon purchased it, changed the name, but it has a lot of old TV shows and movies available for free. It is another service that I use to watch free TV. Now we do have a choice of how the list of services or apps are listed. We can click and we can move it to the front, which moves it all the way to the top, or we can just plain move it, click it, and then as we click, we can place it wherever we want. At this, what we're doing is we're moving it towards the top. We're going to put it right there. Let's switch now to the bedroom TV, which is a TCL Roku TV, and see how to install a service or an app on it. This is the list of apps that are already on this TV. As you can see, I have a lot of them. And this time we're also going to add Plex to the Roku TV as we did to the Fire TV. We're going to search the channels. Very similar to the other, but as we type in the letters, you'll see the availability of what we're looking for. And as soon as we type in the first two letters, it's already over on the right-hand side. We'll type the whole thing in, and it goes to Plex Free Movies. We go ahead and click it. It says we have a choice of adding the channel or viewing screenshots. Let's look at the screenshots first. And it does show us a few screens of what it's going to look like. Very similar to the Fire TV version. And you can see a lot of movies, you might recognize the names. Okay, so now we want to add the channel. So it's adding it. It's been added now, and we're ready to either go to the channel, we can remove it, we can do whatever we want. This time we're clicking it to go to the channel. It's loading the app, and it's the same as it was on the Fire TV. You see Plex, and then you see the choices that you have. You can sign up for free, or you can go without signing up, and we'll do that first. We can do several things. We can search. We can look at what's available. We can look at the home, the watch list to discover. We can watch TV and movies and shows and music. Same as we looked at Plex on the Fire TV, it's almost the same on the Roku TV, as you can see. We can go to movies and shows. We can look at categories. You have to remember that when you're streaming, you're waiting for things to download, so there is hesitation. It's not like cable where you just click a button and you're there. It does have to load. Sometimes it takes a little while for things to load as well. And again, we can look at the information about a particular movie, and it shows the stars. We can add it to the watch list, watch the trailer, mark as watched, and then there's some other choices. We've now added Plex to our Roku TV. Now there's several things and settings that you can have with your Roku TV, and you can search, you can show all of the streaming channels that you have. You can add more or look for more to add just by clicking and going to those. Now, not all of those are free. Some of them are subscription based that you pay for by the month. And you can search whatever you want. You can add any of the pay services or any of the free services to your Roku, as well as your Fire TV.
Well, thank you, Huey. That's very interesting. Ray, you talk a lot about Plex. Did you learn something, or you knew that all?
Well, I know most of it, and I use Plex. The way where I differ is Yui uses the Plex for the free movies, and that's a fine way to do it. I rather, instead of taking my entire DVD and Blu-ray collection, taken the time to save it on Plex as computer files. So rather than me searching for a DVD to play a movie, I used to kid that the one on the bottom shelf never got played. Now it's just listed alphabetically or any way I want it. So I really enjoy Plex for that purpose.
So there's a lot of ways and reasons why we should be using Plex, right?
I think so. I mean, again, it's available as a lot of free. Now, these aren't brand new blockbuster movies when they free.
Right.
These have been out for a while, and
Right.
you have to understand that. But it's a good to add that to your other streaming services. If you have Amazon Prime or Netflix, then it's worth having that as well.
Great. Okay. Steve, we'll take your question just at the in the Q&A. Okay. So I want to just finish off now. We're going to, for those of you over on our YouTube feed, I want to thank you for coming, and we will for sure talk to you next week. Don't forget this Thursday, watch Tech for Senior live. If you want to come over and participate in our Q&A or see the music outro that Ray has, great balls of fire ready to go, we are going to we'll be happy to have you over here. So thank you for coming, and we'll see you again over on our YouTube in about a week's time.
Jerry Lee Lewis, nicknamed the Killer. So only 2 days after the website TMZ erroneously reported the death of Jerry Lee Lewis, he actually died. That was on October 28, 2022, after a bout with pneumonia. He was at the age of 87. Now, Lewis was there at the beginning and helped create the birth of rock and roll. That's something I always like to give seminars on. The Killer, and this is a nickname he coined for himself, was the last surviving member of the 10 inductees in the 1986 original inaugural class of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Lewis was also inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame just 2 weeks before his death. Now, throughout his career, he had 63 songs on the rock and country charts and recorded 40 albums. He was nominated for 3 Grammys, won one of them, and received the Recording Academy's Lifetime Achievement Award in 2005. The reaction to Lewis's death came from around the world, with the most notable, I thought, from this other piano player you may have heard of. His name is Elton John. He said, "Without Jerry Lee Lewis, I wouldn't have become who I am today. He was groundbreaking and exciting, and he pulverized the piano." Now, Lewis was born in Faraday, Louisiana, to a poor farming family. He began playing the piano with 2 cousins, Mickey Gilley, who later became a successful country singer in his own right, and Jimmy Swaggart, the well-known televangelist. In 1956, Lewis began working for Sun Records in Memphis as a session musician, and his piano playing can be heard on Carl Perkins' song Matchbox. In 1957, he had his first hit for Sun Records titled "Whole Lot of Shakin' Going On," a song first done by R&B singer Big Maybelle 2 years earlier. It's been reported that the 3 cousins in their youth would frequent a club in Faraday that featured black blues acts. So I'm sure this is where he first heard that song. Lewis was married 7 times, but in 1958, when at age 22, he took his 3rd bride, a first cousin once removed, who was only 13 years old. The negative publicity tanked his rock and roll career as planned tours were canceled and many radio stations refused to play his music. It wasn't until the next decade before he would have another hit song, but this time it was on the country charts with "Another Place, Another Time" that began a 17-week run reaching number 4. This began a remarkable turnaround, and between 1968 to 1977, Lewis had 17 top 10 hit singles on the Billboard country charts, including 4 that went to #1. Now, the song Great Balls of Fire was the biggest rock and roll hit for Lewis. And in 1989, a movie with the same name was released, starring Dennis Quaid as Lewis and Winona Ryder as Myra Brown. That's the third wife. The song has been covered by numerous artists, to include Fleetwood Mac, Aerosmith, and Dolly Parton, just to name a few. Now, what Jerry Lee Lewis is most noted for musically was his antics while playing the piano. In addition to his fingers banging hard against the ivories, he also used his fists, elbows, and feet. One trademark move would be to kick his chair backwards to have more room to stand and move around while he was still playing the piano. He did this in 1957 when appearing on the Steve Allen TV variety show. And in today's video clip of that performance, you can see the chair fly back across the screen as Steve Allen himself throws it. This happens when the clock on the screen reaches about 57 minutes, or 57:25. That was Jerry Lee.
Jerry Lee.
And you like that bench going flying back across the screen?
It is. Yeah, it's fun. But you're right. He did that many times after that.
Yeah, Steve Allen was noted for hating rock and roll, but his advertisers forced him to have the rock and roll stars of the day on air. So he wanted to get into the act himself.
Thanks, Ray.
What a time machine.
Yeah.
I remember when that came out. Wow.
Yeah. All right. Listen, it's top of the hour. Thanks for everyone for coming. We'll be moving into our question and answer period now. Bob has joined us, which is great. We'll hopefully, if you have any questions, Bob's here. We will our premiere service will be starting at past. The 3 items will be Marsha Berkey will be talking on memories and PowerPoint with your PowerPoint. Huey's going to talk on informed mail delivery, and I'm going to talk about alternatives to digital picture frames. Don't forget, we have a show on this Thursday, Tech for Senior Live. We're going to talk about follow up on sort of what we talked about on my segment today on phone plans when you travel. And so if you have any questions now, put your hand up and let's get on with the question and answer. Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, Ray, I just wondered how much data have you got connected to your Plex now?
I don't, so are you asking me this or Ray?
No, Ray.
Ray.
I have 2 hard drives connected to my Plex server. One is 12 terabytes. The other is 6 terabytes. So I have availability of 18 terabytes for storage. I'm probably using about half of it right now.
Okay.
And you got to remember, I have a pretty large music collection.
Yeah, I would think so. Greg, go ahead. Unmute yourself.
Okay, I'm a novice at this, and I've been looking at these e-cars also. Whoever's going to give this presentation, I would like to suggest that they talk to us about the batteries, on how long they hold a charge and how long they go or drive in miles. And the other I'd like them to talk about is the charging rate. How long does it take to charge the car up? Do you get a bigger system and then it charges faster? I don't know.
Mike, are you?
I'll answer that if you like.
Sure, go ahead.
Yes, the whole subject matter on electric vehicles is quite a wide field. So initially, we focused on technology.
I'm just talking about when you give your presentation. Can you add this?
Yes, no, it's definitely there. When I get to the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, whatever, it'll be in there. And we're definitely going to talk about battery technology. We're going to talk about the types of batteries that will be coming in the future, which will be much better than the lithium-ion batteries of today. We'll talk about battery capacity, battery charge rates, battery power rates. We're also going to talk about charging networks, charging at home and charging commercially. So it's a big field. And, we could spend several hours if we went straight through. So and
Thank you.
Ron won't give me that amount of time.
You get 10 or 15 minutes per show, right, Mike, and that's it. All right. Yeah. So Mike's going to do this over a series of presentations. So it won't all be one big amount. So more interesting stuff coming. Jim Glass, go ahead.
I just got one of those Amazon Fire 7s, the small tablet. And man, is it loaded with ads? Anybody got familiarity with that? How do you get through the ads to actually use the machine?
So Jim, there's when you purchase the Fire tablet, you get two choices, right? You get the cheap choice, which is where you accept ads. So you get the Fire TV or Fire tablet, probably $30-$40 off because you're going to take ads. So if you want to get rid of the ads, you can go into your settings and just click the button, and they'll charge you an extra $30 or $40, and the ads will go away. So it's your choice whether you want ads or not.
Yeah, there are a ton of them.
Yeah.
I can't even get to the settings because the ads come up and I don't see a way through them.
Yeah, well, there is. And that's part of when you do order a Fire tablet, please have a look at that. Jim, what Jim's talking about is annoying. But that's part of the reason why when you go to purchase a Fire tablet, there's two prices. There's the price with ads and without ads. So you have your choice. And even if you do have the ads like Jim does, you can then turn those off by simply paying the difference.
Okay, well, thank you.
Okay. Carl, thank you for your clip. That was fantastic. That was really interesting.
Well, you're welcome. I was blown away by it. And I was thinking, as I said, in high school or in college, my freshman year, I had to read a book 1984, and we're at 1984 for sure.
Well, exactly.
But a couple comments. One is you were talking about 2-point authentication, and it's a great idea, and I love it. But I have problems when I'm on my cell phone, and I'm in logging into something, and then it says 2-point, and it sends me a text message. Then I have to leave that app. I can't tell you how many times I'm either too late to put the number in, or I get lost and I have to reopen the app again on that phone. It's a hassle.
Okay, so there's two ways around that. You and everybody else has the same problem, right? Like it drives you crazy, and everyone has the same problem. So Carl, there's two ways to do that. The first is, do you use LastPass?
No.
Do you have a password manager, or do you use a?
No, but I have another question on that too. But go ahead.
Okay, but just to let you know that a lot of the password managers autofill for you, right? So when that happens, the password manager will take that and autofill. There's also on Android. Do you use Android, or are you on an iPhone?
Android.
And I'm not sure, but if it's on all versions of Android now, but on my phone, there's an option to autofill. In other words, when you're going to get the text message, it says, do you want to autofill this right to the app? And it autofills and puts that in there. I agree 100% with you. You can't, how do you put this code, and you got to go out of that screen into the next screen, and you got to put it in. That is a real pain in the what. But around that, there's two options. There's one in Android for the Android service, and the other is password managers will autofill it as well for you. So there are ways around that to get around that. Just your choice. Jim, go ahead. Jim Glass.
Oh, I thought I put my hand down.
Okay. Ray, do you have a comment?
Yes, regarding the Detroit airport, I don't fly as much as I used to, but the last couple of times I'll always have my boarding pass on my smartphone, and I just show that. Now,
Right.
I noticed at the airport they were putting paper boarding passes on the scanner. How would it work if I had my boarding pass on my phone?
Good question. Don't know the answer to that. Maybe you would scan that in when you got to the airport. You'd put it in a scanner and scan it in. Possibility.
It's a different application. It's trying to help you to, instead of looking at that screen where your gate is, it's personalizing it for you where to go.
Right.
I know what the end result is. My question was, how does it work if you have your boarding pass on your phone?
I don't know. I think they're separate functions.
Right.
Okay.
And also, Carl, on the phones with the app on the phones, it often gives you all that information, your gate and how long it is and where to get there. And even some of the large airports even has a map on your phone. So that actually is available on the app on your phone. So that happens. But can you imagine though? I thought, like, how crazy good would that be? Because the other problem is once you know it's gate 10, how do you get to gate 10? Wouldn't it be crazy? I mean, imagine having a lit line on the floor and you just follow the yellow line, right?
Well,
right to the gate.
That's what they implied. Actually,
Yeah.
it would give you directions. I want to hear at some point Bill James. He's got that Cadillac Creme cars. You didn't get it yet?
No. No,
Bill,
not
are you
yet.
buying a Cadillac? Are you buying an electric Cadillac? Come on now.
No, not yet. No, not yet.
It's right behind me, Bill, right behind me.
I know, I saw it. I was going, ooh, my car. But I was going to add to what I think, Ron, some of those boarding passes on your phone has a QR code. So probably the scanner will read the QR code.
Yeah, probably. Yep, for sure. And most people now coming into the airport, because remember, I work as a greeter on Wednesday, so I get to tell you line 1 or line 2, and everyone comes in, they just show their phone and they've got their boarding pass on it. So yeah, that's for sure. Did you have a question, Bill, or something? Or Bob? I think Bob first.
Yeah, I was just adding that comment. I'm lowering my hand.
Welcome, Bob. Nice to see you show up for the show.
Quiet because my voice is not exactly like it normally is.
I know you sound like you got a cold.
Well, it was fun. It was fun doing a presentation when your voice is down in the basement. I'll take on any bass singer right now, and I guarantee you I can go lower than they can. But it was fun doing a presentation this way.
Yeah. Well, we even noticed when your recorded segment, you sounded a couple of octaves lower.
Yeah, well, by then it had already started, and now it's only gotten. I think by tonight I may have no voice, so we'll see.
Yeah. Did you have anything you wanted to say or comment, or you just want to rest your voice?
No, I'm going to rest my voice.
Okay, all right. Dick, go ahead.
You talked about adding streaming channels to your TV. How do you remove them?
There is in the options of your TV, there's just, when you go to the channel section there, you can remove the channels. There's just a delete button there. It's real easy to do. You just go where you added them, you can also delete them.
Yeah, on
it's
my
real
Roku,
it's really
press the star button, it gives you the option to delete them.
Well, it would depend on the TV that you're doing it on, I think.
It's on the TCL.
Yeah.
Well, also it'll work with the stick you have. We have Roku, and
Right.
You're absolutely right. Just click that button, it'll show you a window.
It's real easy to do, Dick. You can add and subtract them really easy. It's not a big deal.
I have a strange problem with my Roku TV. I watch Acorn television, and I can start a series of TV shows, various episodes, and suddenly the picture in one of the episodes goes bad. And then there's a string of episodes. The picture is unviewable. It has horizontal lines across the picture. And for maybe 4 or 5 episodes, the picture is unviewable. And then suddenly the episodes resume their normal display. I have talked to, and then I have a separate Roku plug-in that I can put in the HDMI slot, and I can put on that Acorn TV, and that same episode that was bad when it was directly from TCL's TV, Acorn, but from the Roku plug-in, it's fine. So it's a really bizarre thing. I've been talking to TCL about it, and they have not come up with a solution.
So Dick, that's not an uncommon problem. And how old is your TV? How many years old?
Less than a year.
Oh, really? Interesting. Because that most likely is the app on the TCL TV, and it's likely it's obviously the app, because when you plug the stick in, it works just fine, right? So
and that's why I'm trying to remove the app.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I would remove the app and reinstall the app. That's a really good idea. I bet you that'll fix it.
When you reinstall it, Dick, all your personal or all your currently remembered information will be gone. Just so you know that.
Yeah, you just have to re-sign in.
That's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, but I would do that. I had that on my TCL TV with an app, and I can't remember. I think it was Netflix actually did that, and I had to delete it off and reinstall, and it was fine. In fact, I sat on support for hours, and they finally had me do it. Took 2 minutes to do it, and it fixed the problem. And I thought, what a ridiculous! I should have been able to figure that one out. So just reinstall it.
This has been chats going back and forth for about 3 weeks now.
Yeah. Olive, go ahead.
Yes, I don't know if you noticed in the chats, somebody asked if you could share Carl's link to the video clip.
I cannot, because Carl sent it to me as a video clip, and it is not a YouTube video, so I don't have a link to it, so I can't do that. And the reason I didn't show it at the beginning of the show is it's a news feed, and the news feeds are all copyrighted, so I did not want to play it as a public. But if you probably search Detroit Airport, and it's probably on a YouTube video. If you search Detroit Airport, I don't know, arrival information or new arrival screen or something, you should be able to find it.
What's the guy's name? I forgot. A-G?
NG. His last name is NG.
NG. Yeah. Jim, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was wondering if anybody's got any experience with wireless hearing assistance for TV listening. My hearing's going, and the wife's going crazy because I keep saying, raise the volume, raise the volume.
Yeah. Jim, there's such a lot of information out there, particularly on some of the channels that are hearing, some of the websites that are specifically related to hearing loss. There's just an unlimited amount of information for you. That's a very common problem and a very common question asked. So there's a lot of information out there. I don't have the information at my fingertip, but it'd be real easy. A few little searches on Google and you'll find it.
Okay. Also, if you get hearing aids, you can get hearing aids that have Bluetooth that pick it up.
Yeah. But the TV has to have Bluetooth, doesn't it? Or can you put a dongle in?
You can get a Bluetooth dongle for if your TV is too old, and if you have an analog connector, you can get a Bluetooth transmitter from Amazon that will pair with a small Bluetooth speaker that you can put on your coffee table and have that speaker be closer to you than the speakers from TV. And often that is a good compromise rather than having to use hearing aids.
Or they can also use hearing aid. You can also use earphones.
Yeah, well, I would like earbuds, frankly. But
we have to, Elaine, do you have a quick question? Because we have to leave. It's
just a quick comment. My husband has hearing aids, and the hearing aid supplier sold us for $75 a little thing that looks like a tiny speaker that hooks up wirelessly to his hearing aids, and it just sits by the TV and amplifies the sound for him, and it works great. But it depends on your hearing aid brand, but ask your hearing aid supplier if they have something like that that can be used.
Like a movie. set
Well,
in a-
thank you. Thank you. That's
Thank you.
good information.
Identify them to advertisers on big screens.
Someone's got their radio going. I'm just going to mute everybody again. Yes. So anyway, thank you for coming. Don't forget that we have a show on this Thursday. Stay warm. It's going to snow here tonight. Hopefully you'll stay warm and cozy. We'll see you again next week, and Huey will be back, and hopefully Bob's better and healthy, and his voice will be good, and we will have a great show for you. And we'll see everybody in a week's time. Bye now.